Have you tried a glitter ombre over a solid color with your dip nails? If you haven't, then this is going to be the one for you. What's up, nail crew? It's Nicole, your fellow nail obsessed DIYer. Today we are doing that gorgeous mani that you just saw. I'm all about the chunky glitter ombres. It is so much easier than you think, so stay tuned and I will teach you all the things that you need to know to do that. When you're working with solid colors, you really want to make sure that you apply your dip liquids thinly. Because the solid colors tend to show everything, especially when they're lighter, they're not as forgiving as shimmers. So you really want to make sure you get those layers of dip base applied evenly right from the start. That's going to help your layers of the solid dip powder look a lot more even. Right now, my nails are pretty short, so I don't have to worry about building much of an apex. And I built my apex already either with builder gel or rubber base, so I don't have to do it with the dip powders. The reason I like to do that is I use peel base in between my rubber base or builder gel and before I put on my dip powder. I like to change my manis often, typically about every 4 to 6 days. So using peel base is a lot better than having to e-file off my dip powders like every week. I can just pop off the mani. Sometimes I put extra peel base on if I want to do my mani a little bit sooner, like maybe every 3 days. And if I want to wear it for over a week, I'll typically put a little bit less on. Now, if I'm going away, I do not use peel base. I don't want my nails like randomly popping off if we're out of town. So I only use it when I'm going to be home. So that goes back to the apex. And when I was talking about, do you need to build one? If you don't have any builder gel or rubber base down as your base layer, and you don't have your apex built with that, then you might need to build an apex with your dip powder. So the apex is just the highest point on your nail. It's going to help keep it from breaking. And if you're going to build an apex with dip powders, you do your first dip as just a strip about halfway down the middle of your nail towards the cuticle. And the second layer is about 3/4 of the way down towards your cuticle and covers a bit more of the nail. And then you just kind of build back from that. So since I already have an apex built, I only need to do 2 dips of the color. And then I do 1 dip of the clear to encapsulate my color, regardless of what I'm using. If I'm using a solid, shimmer, flake, foil, glitter, I always do clear dip powder as my last dip because it protects your dip powders from when you're buffing, shaping, and filing. When I'm using solid dip powders, I like to pour the powder over. It helps the application really be even. And I keep pouring it over to really make sure that all the liquid's soaked up. Even though I apply my dip liquids thinly, I really make sure that the powder is soaked up. Since the glitter ombre is going to be on the middle nail, I'm going to give you guys a trick on how I keep my glitter ombre nails from being too thick. The ombre is going to be starting at my cuticle and then falling downwards towards the tip of my nail. So when I do that, I do not put the second layer of my solid dip powder all the way down my nail. I leave some space because the majority of where I want my glitter is going to be at the cuticle, and I don't want all that extra dip layer to be there. I want to leave some extra space so that the glitter has more room there and my nails won't look as bulky. That is what I do regardless of where I'm putting the glitter ombre. If I'm doing a vertical glitter ombre, if I'm doing a vertical, or if I'm doing an ombre for the glitter at the tips, I always leave extra space without doing the second dip of either the shimmer or the solid, whatever I'm using as my base. Once I do the 2 layers of the solids for all my nails, I go back through the 2 nails, the thumb and the pointer, that are just going to be the solid color, and I encapsulate them with clear dip powder. I like to do this because I am a messy dipper. I tend to get glitter all over the place and I don't want to contaminate my solid nails with the glitter. So I go through it, add my clear, and I even activate it just to make sure I don't get any glitters into those solid nails. And I do that whether I'm doing solids or shimmers for the other nails. I tend to do my glitters last just because I am so wild. And I mean, you already saw me drop powder in a lot of my videos. I pretty much every time. You know what? I drop a lot less using these dip cups than when I did using the cupcake liners. The cupcake liners, I basically knocked over like every single mani. So, I didn't say what the colors are. These colors that I'm using are from CN Designers. They're absolutely gorgeous. The solid is called Wisteria. And then this stunning glitter that I'm starting to use now is called Fizzy Pop. Whenever I'm doing glitters, you want to make sure that you really do keep your liquids thin. And I know I say this all the time. I feel like sometimes I'm a broken record saying this, but I don't want you guys to be walking around with super chunky, thick nails that are going to come off a lot easier. It is better to have a higher number of thinner layers of dip powder than a lower number of really thick layers. Whenever you're doing chunky glitters, what I like to do is pour my chunky glitter into one of these dip cups, or if you don't have dip cups, you can use the cupcake liners. Just be really careful you don't knock them over. It's really easy to do. Then on your first dip, you basically just want to get the base of the color. You don't want to pick up a ton of the chunky pieces. If you pick up a ton of the chunky pieces on your first dip, your nails will look a lot thicker. You just need like the base of that color to be on your nails for the first dip. And then on the second dip, you can go through and shake up your powder, shake up the glitter that's in your little cupcake liner or the dip cup, and really get those big chunky pieces to come up to the top. This way, when you lay your nail flat onto it, you can pick up all those pieces that you want right there, and then your nails don't have to be super thick. I like to keep a piece of masking tape or washi tape or painter's tape on typically my middle finger on my opposite hand. This way I can go through and press all the chunky glitter pieces down in between each dip. And even when I don't pick up many chunky glitter pieces on the first dip, I still press the glitters down. It really helps that you don't get those thick, chunky nails since you're already using a chunky glitter. I know I've seen a lot of people use their fingers to do this, but honestly, that drives me insane because then you're getting dip base and glitters and powder stuck all over your skin. And I personally don't want that. I don't want to have to scrape it off. And the more that you expose your skin to that, the more likely you are to get contact dermatitis or some kind of allergy, which okay, we definitely do not want, all right? I want to be able to do all these beautiful colors that I have. I think I have probably over 1,500 dip powders at this point. I don't know. I refuse to count. I prefer to be in denial. So moral of the story, just wear tape on one of the fingers of your other hand and use that to press down glitters. You can also use it for flakes and foils. It works really well too. Now, when you're doing chunky glitter and you don't pick up as many of the big pieces that you want, what you can do is take some kind of nail tool like the one that I'm using here, and you can add extra chunky glitter pieces. I do this when I'm doing just the chunky glitter on my one finger, and you'll see me get to do it when I'm doing the ombre on my middle finger. It is how you get that beautiful cascading ombre look, by adding more glitter pieces. So I like to first do the nails that are just the glitter, and I always tend to save my ombres for last, the glitter ombre. I like to look at how the rest of my nails look. It's like the glitter ombre brings everything together, so I like to do it last. Since I don't have my second dip of the purple all the way back on my nail to my cuticle, it's leaving extra space for when I do this chunky glitter ombre. And you'll notice when I apply my dip base to my nail, I don't do it all the way to the tip of my nail. I do that because I tend to be a little bit heavy-handed when I'm tapping glitter. And this way, if I end up being a little bit extra heavy-handed, I don't get any of the glitter at the very edge of my nail. The key to doing glitter ombres is to tilt your finger down just slightly. I know some people like to keep it at a really steep angle, but for me, just tilting my finger down a little bit gives me the best ombre coverage. When I put my finger pointed down towards the ground too much, I typically end up being really heavy-handed on the glitter. This way, when I just do a slight tilt of my nail downwards, I can get that really nice cascading ombre effect. And then all I have to do is go through and place some of the big chunky glitter pieces. When it comes to glitter ombres, I actually prefer to do chunky glitter ombres compared to everything else because I just find that you get such a nice coverage of the base of the glitter, and then you can just hand place some of the chunky pieces and boom, you've got your gorgeous chunky glitter ombre. It is literally that easy to do. When you're tapping, you really want to focus just tapping the glitter on the cuticle area because that's going to keep your glitter focused at your cuticle area and cascading down your nail instead of being thick the entire way. So those are some of the things that I like to do that help me to get a really good chunky glitter ombre every time. Then once I'm totally done with the ombre, I always make sure I trace around my cuticles. And like I do with every dip that I use with dip liquids, I encapsulate with clear dip powder. Especially when you're using glitters, you want to finish your last dip with clear dip powder. If you don't, when you go to buff and file and shape, your glitters tend to turn silver. And if you're not using a silver glitter, or you don't want your glitter to look silver, you definitely want to make sure you use clear dip powder as your last dip. Then once you've added all the clear dip powder, you've covered your nail, you really want to make sure you brush off any excess. That'll keep your nails from getting super thick and chunky. And you saw a little bit of what I spilled there. I tend to do a bit of spilling, especially if like the clear was really full. So it slipped right out of my hands when I was trying to pour it back in. Once you've brushed off your clear, you want to activate each of your nails really well to make sure that the activator soaks all the way through. And then you'll know that they're ready to file and buff and shape when you can tap on your nails and it gives you that hard clicking sound. I did all that off camera so we could jump right into top coating. Whatever dip liquids you're using, you absolutely want to make sure that you follow the top coating instructions because each liquid is a little bit different with the top coating instructions. So for CNs, after you've filed and buffed and shaped, you wipe your nails with some isopropyl alcohol and let that dry, and then go in with your activator. And you want to wait 60 seconds after you activate your fifth nail. Once you wait exactly 60 seconds, which I put a timer on, I was looking at my phone when I was doing this, then I floated my first layer in 2 to 3 quick even strokes. I did that from thumb to pinky, just like I did my activator. And then once I got to my pinky, I waited 30 seconds like their instructions said, and then I went back in with my second layer of top coat, floating that as well. Now, if you're still struggling with glitter ombres and you need some more help, make sure you check out this next video and I will talk more about it. Thanks for joining me today, nail crew.